Last year, I grew just over 10 pounds of microgreens on my kitchen counter over a single month, and I did not spend a dime beyond what I already had sitting around the house. No fancy grow light kits, no expensive seed subscriptions, no hydroponic rigs. Just kitchen scraps for containers, seeds I saved or sourced for free, and a window that gets decent light. Meanwhile, I watch people online spending $50, $60, even $100 on microgreen setups before they grow their first tray, and half of them end up with moldy trays they throw straight in the trash. Here's what got me started. About 3 years ago, I was cleaning out the pantry and found a bag of dried lentils that had been sitting there so long I would not cook with them anymore. My father, rest his soul, never threw anything away that could still grow. So I spread those lentils on a damp paper towel in a takeout container, covered it, and 4 days later, I had a tray of the crispest, most flavorful little greens I had eaten in years. That one experiment changed everything for me. I realized you do not need to buy a single piece of specialized equipment. You just need to understand how seeds actually work and stop overcomplicating it. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to grow 10 pounds of microgreens on your kitchen counter without spending money, using containers you already have, seeds you can source for free or nearly free, and a simple rotation system that keeps fresh greens coming every single week. And stay with me to the end because I am going to share a trick my father taught me for getting a second and even third harvest off certain microgreen varieties that most people throw away after one cut. Now, I want to be straight with you. I spent years ignoring microgreens because I thought they were some trendy restaurant garnish that had no place in a real garden. I figured if I was going to grow something, I would grow it to full size and get a real harvest. If you have been thinking the same thing, I understand completely. I was right there with you. And then I started actually tracking what I was spending on salad greens at the grocery store, and it was embarrassing. $12, $15 a week on bags of mixed greens that went slimy in 3 days. When I ran the numbers on what I could grow in microgreens on that same counter where I keep the bread box, I realized I had been leaving the easiest, most nutritious food on the table for 20 years. That is when I got serious about it. Here's what I learned that changed my thinking entirely. A microgreen is not some special category of plant. It is the exact same seed you would plant in your garden, harvested young, usually between 7 and 14 days after planting. The reason they are so nutritious comes down to basic plant biology. When a seed first germinates, it packs all of its stored energy and nutrients into those first leaves, the cotyledons. Research out of the University of Maryland found that microgreens can contain 4 to 40 times the concentration of vitamins and minerals compared to the mature plant. That is not marketing hype. That is peer-reviewed science. And once you understand that these are just regular seeds grown densely and harvested early, the whole process stops feeling exotic and starts feeling like common sense. So let me walk you through how to actually do this, starting with gathering your supplies without opening your wallet. The first thing you need is containers, and I guarantee you have what you need in your kitchen right now. Any shallow container between 1 and 2 inches deep works perfectly. I am talking about those plastic takeout containers with clear lids, the black trays that grocery store mushrooms come in, aluminum baking pans, even the bottom halves of egg cartons lined with a bit of plastic wrap. My favorite is the clear clamshell containers that strawberries come in because they already have drainage holes in the bottom and a built-in clear lid that works as a humidity dome during germination. Save these for 2 weeks and you will have more growing trays than you know what to do with. You also need something to grow in. You do not need to buy potting mix. If you have a bag of any kind of potting soil in your garage or shed, that works. But if you truly want to spend nothing, here is what I do. I take regular paper towels, fold them to about 4 layers thick, and lay them in the bottom of the container. You can also use newspaper, folded to about 6 layers, or even strips of clean cotton from an old t-shirt. The seeds do not need soil nutrients because they are living off their own stored energy for those first 7 to 14 days. They just need something to anchor their roots and hold moisture. A folded paper towel does that perfectly. Now here's where the growing really begins, and it starts with getting seeds for free. This is the part most people do not think about. Go to your pantry and pull out dried lentils, dried peas, whether they are green split or whole, dried mung beans, dried adzuki beans, popcorn kernels, sesame seeds, mustard seeds from the spice rack, celery seed, dill seed, and fennel seed. Every single one of those will grow into edible microgreens. If you have a bag of dried sunflower seeds in the shell, the raw, unsalted kind, those grow into one of the most popular microgreens you can buy at a farmer's market. I've even sprouted fenugreek from the spice aisle. Your pantry is a seed bank and you did not even know it. Beyond the pantry, if you let one broccoli, kale, radish, arugula, or cilantro plant go to seed in your garden, you will get thousands of seeds for free. Thousands. One bolted radish plant alone gave me enough seed for over 30 trays last season. And if you're friendly with a neighbor who gardens, ask if they have any seeds going to waste. Gardeners almost always have more seed than they can use. Before you start planting, you need to know which seeds to soak and which to sow dry. This is where a lot of first-timers get tripped up, and I made this mistake myself more times than I care to admit. Larger seeds with hard coats need soaking. That means your lentils, whole peas, mung beans, adzuki beans, sunflower seeds, and popcorn kernels. Soak these in a bowl of room temperature water for 8 to 12 hours, or just overnight. This softens the seed coat and jumpstarts germination, so you get even consistent sprouting instead of patchy trays where half the seeds never wake up. Smaller seeds do not need soaking. Your mustard, celery, dill, fennel, arugula, broccoli, and lettuce type seeds go straight onto your growing surface dry. If you soak small seeds, they clump together into an unusable mess. I learned that the hard way with a batch of mustard seed that turned into a solid glob I had to throw out. Now let me show you exactly how to plant a tray. Take your container, lay down your growing medium, whether that is the folded paper towels or a half-inch layer of potting mix, and moisten it thoroughly. You want it damp like a wrung-out sponge, not dripping wet. If you pick it up and water runs out, it is too wet, and that is where mold problems start. For the pre-soaked seeds, drain them well and spread them in a single dense layer across the surface. You want them close together, almost touching, but not piled on top of each other. For a container about the size of a standard takeout tray, roughly 5 by 7 inches, you will use about 2 tablespoons of large seeds like lentils or peas. For small dry seeds, sprinkle them evenly across the surface. About 1 teaspoon of small seed covers that same 5 by 7 tray. The key is even distribution. Go corner to corner, back and forth, and fill in any bare patches. Tap the container gently on the counter to settle the seeds against the surface. If you have been following along and want more practical gardening tips like this, straight talk about what actually works without the fancy equipment or the marketing fluff, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos regularly, and I promise I will never waste your time. All right, let us keep going. Once your seeds are sown, give them a very light mist with a spray bottle. Plain tap water is fine. Then cover the tray. This is the blackout phase, and it mimics being buried under soil. If you're using a clamshell container, just close the lid. For open trays, lay another tray upside down on top, or drape a kitchen towel over it. If you want to go one step further, set something with a little weight on top, a small book, a can of beans, just something that puts gentle pressure on the seeds. This forces the emerging roots to push harder and anchor more firmly, which gives you sturdier, thicker stems when they grow up. I started doing this after watching a commercial microgreen farmer, and the difference in stem thickness was noticeable within one growing cycle. Put your covered trays in a warm spot. The top of your refrigerator is actually ideal because it puts off a gentle, consistent warmth, usually around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. A kitchen counter works fine too. You do not need any light during this phase. In fact, light during germination can actually inhibit some seeds. Just leave them alone for 2 to 4 days. Here's where most people get anxious and start peeking every few hours. I did the same thing. Resist the urge for at least 48 hours. Every time you lift that cover, you lose humidity and slow down germination. After 2 days, take a quick look. You should see white root hairs pushing down into the paper towel and pale yellow shoots starting to push up. And if the surface looks dry, give it another light mist, replace the cover, and check again the next day. This next part is where the real growth happens. When your shoots are about 1 to 1.5 inches tall and starting to push up against the cover, it is time to uncover them and introduce light. Now, you do not need a grow light. A kitchen window that gets at least 4 to 6 hours of indirect or direct sunlight will grow perfectly good microgreens. South facing is best. East or west facing works fine. You just might add a day or two to your harvest time. If you have no good window, a basic shop light with a daylight bulb, the kind that costs about $5 at any hardware store, positioned 6 to 8 inches above the trays, works beautifully. I grew my first 50 trays under a desk lamp with a daylight compact fluorescent bulb. Nothing fancy. Once they are in the light, you will see those yellow shoots green up within 24 hours. It happens fast, and honestly, it is one of the most satisfying things to watch. From this point forward, water once daily by either misting the surface or, even better, adding a thin layer of water to a tray underneath and letting it wick up from the bottom. Bottom watering keeps the leaves dry and dramatically reduces your mold risk. I switched to bottom watering exclusively after losing 3 trays in a row to that white spidery mold, and I have not lost a tray since. Now let me walk you through the harvest because timing matters more than most people realize. Most microgreens are ready to cut 7 to 14 days after planting. The signal to look for is when the first set of true leaves begins to merge above the cotyledons. Those initial seed leaves are round or oval. The true leaves look like tiny versions of the adult plant. When you see those true leaves just starting to open, that is your harvest window. For lentils and peas, that is usually day 7 to 9. For mustard and arugula, day 8 to 10. For sunflowers, day 10 to 12. Broccoli and most brassicas, day 8 to 11. To harvest, take a sharp pair of kitchen scissors and cut about a ½ inch above the growing surface. Cut in small handfuls working from one side of the tray to the other. The reason you cut a ½ inch above the surface is to avoid pulling up roots or getting bits of paper towel or soil into your harvest. If you set up your growing medium just slightly below the rim of the container like I described earlier, this is almost foolproof. One tray that size, 5 by 7 inches, gives you roughly 1 to 2 ounces of microgreens depending on the variety. That does not sound like much until you start running multiple trays, and that brings us to the rotation system, which is how you actually hit 10 pounds in a month. Here's the math. If you plant 3 trays every 2 days, you will have roughly 9 to 12 trays growing at any given time, all at different stages. By the time your first trays are harvested, your newest ones are just going into blackout. This gives you a continuous supply. With 12 trays producing 1 to 2 ounces each on a 7 to 10 day cycle, you are harvesting every 2 to 3 days, pulling about 6 to 12 ounces each time. Over a full month, that adds up to between 8 and 12 pounds of fresh microgreens. I track mine on a simple kitchen calendar. Nothing fancy. Just a note of what I planted and when. Now let me cover the patterns I see that trip people up. The first one is overwatering. I did this myself for the first 2 months. People treat microgreen trays like houseplants and drench them daily. Microgreens need consistent moisture, but not wet conditions. If your paper towels are soggy, or there's standing water in the bottom of the tray, you are inviting mold. That white fuzzy stuff you see around the base of the stems, most of the time, that is mold, not root hairs. Root hairs are very fine and only appear on the roots themselves. Mold appears on the surface and spreads outward. The fix is simple. Use bottom watering, keep air circulating, and never let water pool. The second pattern is planting too thick. People think more seeds means more greens, but when seeds are piled 2 or 3 deep, they compete for moisture and air, and the bottom layer rots. This creates a perfect environment for bacteria and mold. 1 even layer is all you need. More is not better here. The third pattern is harvesting too late. I've done this plenty of times, getting busy and letting trays go an extra 3 or 4 days. Once microgreens push past the true leaf stage, they start getting leggy, they fall over, and flavor goes downhill fast. Some varieties get bitter. Harvest on time, even if you are not ready to eat them yet. Cut greens stored in a container with a dry paper towel in the refrigerator will hold for 5 to 7 days easily. Now here's a trick I promised you at the beginning, the one my father showed me that most people never think about. Certain microgreens, specifically peas, lentils, wheatgrass, and most grasses will regrow after you cut them. When you harvest, instead of cutting down to a 1/2 inch, cut it about 1.5 inches. Leave enough stem that there is still a node or a growing point below your cut. Give the tray a good bottom watering, put it back in the light, and within 4 to 5 days you will get a second flush of growth. It will not be quite as thick as the first cutting, but it is completely free food from a tray you would have thrown away. I regularly get 2 solid harvests from peas and 3 from wheatgrass. With lentils, I get a decent second cut about 70% of the time. My father used to say the first cut is for dinner, the second cut is for breakfast, and the third cut goes to the compost pile. That little piece of advice has probably saved me 20 or 30 extra trays worth of seeds over the past 2 years. If this kind of practical, no-nonsense gardening advice is what you are looking for, I would appreciate it if you would share this video with someone who might benefit from it. Drop a comment below and tell me what seeds you have in your pantry right now. I would love to hear what you are going to grow first. And if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that so you do not miss what is coming next. 10 pounds of fresh, nutrient-dense greens from your kitchen counter, no money spent, no special equipment, no gimmicks. Just seeds, water, light, and a little patience. My father would have called that just plain good sense. I reckon he was right. Now go raid that pantry and get growing.